Good evening from Washington, D.C., and thank you to those of you joining us from around the world for news from a Catholic perspective. I'm Lauren Ashburn. President Trump announces new sanctions against America's enemies and says the U.S. will never apologize for protecting its citizens. He spoke for 35 minutes today at the United Nations General Assembly. His speech raised new questions about our relationship with countries once seen as allies. Correspondent Wyatt Goolsbee reports from outside the UN in New York City. Good evening, Wyatt.
Good evening, Lauren. President Trump spoke strongly against Iran and Venezuela here on a very rainy day. He also challenged oil-producing OPEC countries, but he did promise a brighter future for North Korea.
I would like to thank Chairman Kim for his courage.
President Trump reports tremendous progress with North Korea, a big change from last year when he called Kim Rocket Man and said he was ruining his country. Now he says they have a good relationship.
We have engaged with North Korea to replace the specter of conflict with a bold and new push for peace.
Still, Trump says the sanctions will stay in place against North Korea until they've scrapped all their nuclear weapons and facilities. He also announced new sanctions against Venezuela, where he says we're witnessing a human tragedy. The president blasted Iran, calling it a corrupt dictatorship.
Iran's leaders sow chaos, death, and destruction.
He says he won't meet with any Iranian leaders until they change their tune.
And we ask all nations to support Iran's people as they struggle to reclaim their religious and righteous destiny.
The president also forceful against countries that steal American technology, like China.
We will not allow our workers to be victimized, our companies to be cheated, and our wealth to be plundered and transferred.
And he demanded that OPEC countries lower their oil prices and pay more for military protection.
We defend many of these nations for nothing, and then they take advantage of us by giving us high oil prices. Not good.
The president says the U.S. is working with countries in Latin America to confront illegal immigration. He wants to uphold borders and stop human trafficking.
The only long-term solution to the migration crisis is to help people build more hopeful futures in their home countries. Make their countries great again.
We've also been tracking U.S. aid to places like northern Iraq. President Trump has asked Secretary of State Mike Pompeo to examine what's working and what's not, because he says we're only going to give foreign aid to those who respect us and our friends. Lauren?
Wyatt, that is a big change in policy. The U.S. is the largest giver of foreign aid. China says it will step in. How could this affect people who are suffering and need help?
Well, the president no longer is basing this on foreign assistance on need alone. Instead, he wants to determine whether countries will, quote, who, quote, receive our dollars and our protection also have our interests at heart. Lauren?
It's a new transactional approach. Correspondent Wyatt Goolsbee reporting from the UN in New York.